Okay, really interesting question. Lots to say in this front. I think first of all, the kind of like the one line explanation of a data strategy that I like is that a data strategy combines and gets people aligned on where the organization is today from a data maturity and analytics maturity. And well, first is defining where the organization is today, then getting agreement on where the organization wants to get to. And this will be different for different areas of the business. And then thirdly, create an execution path to get from point A to point B. Out of that execution path, we'll also have a number of use cases that come out, and ideally these use cases are prioritized. So we can talk a little bit about all those components. But I would say in terms of what sets apart the good from the bad, a lot of it is the internal alignment and whether the strategy has been able to create the desire for the organization to change. And that desire starts with awareness and an understanding of where the organization is now, why it needs to change, where we'd like to get to, and then make that aspirational. Aspirational doesn't mean it has to be, very exciting or very futuristic or very difficult to achieve. That's not necessarily aspirational. Aspirational could be still realistic and still a step up from where the organization is today. But I think making it aspirational is something really, really important. And in terms another point in terms of setting the good strategies, data strategies, apart from the bad, is the fact that data strategies are broader. In my view, they're broader than analytics strategies, they're broader than AI strategies, and they're broader than tech strategies in terms of the technology that's being applied to data analytics. So the data strategy needs to encompass everything underneath it, all those components that I mentioned. And I've seen organizations that have released sometimes their technology strategy first, then their analytics and AI strategy, and then a data strategy. And what they've been doing is building up to the data strategy. They've done the initial strategies with the view of how they're going to plug into the data strategy, and then the data strategy encompasses all of it because it looks at the life cycle from the data capture, data generation, data acquisition, all the way to the usage and the business value. And that broad focus, I think, is really, really important. So we're saying setting apart the good from the bad is the aspirational, making it aspirational, getting the desire of the organization. We're also saying that it needs to the point that I just mentioned, and then the third one before it escapes me. The third one is to get alignment from and a shared understanding from the organization on both where the organization is today and where the organization wants to go in the future. This is where maturity models, analytical maturity models, data maturity models are really useful, really important. There's really good ones online. We may link to some underneath. And those are really important to help build a common language and a common understanding within the organization. So I think that's one component, but sometimes they're seen or felt as being too theoretical. So you need to look for examples on how to bring that to life for your organization. And sometimes I've seen leaders throughout the organization in different reports, the same metric is being reported with completely different numbers. They found this And then when they went to present to the executive team about the data strategy, what they did, they put that information up front and they had it as a question. So they said, when we look at our, say, monthly sales volume, which is the right number for last month? A, B, or C? And got people to vote. Some people said A, some people said B, some people said C. Turns out they were all correct numbers. They were all different numbers. And they were correct in the sense that they existed in a report in the organization at that point in time. And it was a great way to highlight that in terms of data maturity, there is no consensus or no single source of truth in that organization at that point. And it was a great example to bring a key pain point to life before jumping into defining where the organization is now in terms of data maturity, and then discussing where it could get to. So bringing those examples in, I think, are critical to take the organization in the journey and help them be motivated to move. So that's really good. Maybe the other part that I would say sets apart the good strategies from the bad strategies is a prioritized list of use cases, and essentially a bit of a roadmap that comes out of the strategy. It doesn't mean that the roadmap is going to be fixed for however long that roadmap looks into, 2 years, 3 years. It doesn't mean that is going to be fixed, but what it shows is that there's been some brainstorming in terms of the number of applications of AI and data in the business, and that there's been a prioritization, and that there are groupings, logical groupings of use cases that then can be prioritized in terms of business need or business impact, or customer need, customer desire, customer impact. So having that a roadmap and a prioritized list of use cases is great. And I think is another example of the good, separating the good from the bad data strategies. So what you want to do, a data strategy is almost like very personal, but what I mean is that it's very custom to the organization, and you need to understand the organization's strengths and weaknesses, the aspirations of the organization. The data strategy needs to support the overall business strategy, and ideally the data strategy will support the KPIs of the C-level executives of the business, because then that way you ensure that you have both really great alignment, but also really great support in what comes out of the data strategy. And doing that while getting alignment of where the organization is, showing where, or getting a consensus on where the organization wants to go, developing an execution path, which is the roadmap on how to get there, and with that roadmap having a prioritized set of use cases, then you can't go wrong in terms of data strategy.